What is up, everybody? This is your host, Luce, coming at y'all with a movie review for Spider Man Brand New Day. Now, this one is a spoiler filled review. I made you guys aware of that in my very short review. I put that out a little before this one, just to give you guys a little bit of time to, get your thoughts in order or whatever before we come over here and have a real discussion about how I really felt about this movie. But if you didn't listen to that one, I won't bear the lead on this spoiler review. I actually did really enjoy this movie. I think it's up there with some of the better Spider-Man movies. So yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day is definitely gonna be one of the ones, and it's gonna be one we're gonna be talking about for a long time, just like how we were with No Way Home. I want to make sure I don't get the titles confused because before I even started recording this pod, I was definitely thinking like, hold on, did I say Brand New Day or did I say No Way Home or did I say Homecoming? There's so many different weird Spider-Man titles, but yeah, let's get into the nitty and gritty of this movie. So, like I said in the spoiler-free review, I literally just got home. I don't even think I've been home for an hour from seeing this movie, so my thoughts are really fresh. I'm hoping I don't forget too many important things that happened in the movie that I want to talk about and maybe didn't get a chance to. I definitely did that with the Odyssey, but let's get into the spoiler review for this movie. Okay, so the film essentially starts with like a montage of what Spider-Man has been going through, dealing with different crimes he stopped, different villains. We see him dealing with Scorpion, him dealing with Tarantula, him dealing with a lot of different villains, Boomerang. A lot of the really just a montage of everything that he's had going on in his life, but in the background of him and everything he's been dealing with Spider-Man, you slowly see Ned and MJ actually, I don't want to say grow up, but they actually go through all of their college years as Spider-Man is going through his, I guess you can say, college phase of him just being growing from a Spider Boy into a Spider-Man, which is a major thing with the last trilogy that we got leading into this new trilogy. Kevin Feige and a lot of people from over at Disney actually just said that the first three movies was essentially, it's weird the way they described it, but the first three movies is essentially like the first act of Spider Boy leading into the Spider Man type of thing. So you're supposed to look at the first three movies. It's kind of like the first act of his whole story arc, and this new trilogy is supposed to be like the second act of that. Hopefully, we do get 9 Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, but right now we're on the fourth. But essentially, let's get back to what I was saying. But essentially, when we see the montage of Spider-Man fighting all the different villains and learning, I guess, how to become like the best Spider-Man he can be, we see Ned and MJ slowly living their life without Peter, and he's having to watch them through. It looks like it was like Instagram. I don't know if it was supposed to be like a fake app or something, but it looked like Instagram to me. So essentially, the only way that he can have any kind of connection to them was literally just watching them do live streams or watching them post on their stories or whatever they have going on in their life. He has to watch from the background, which essentially is kind of how we grew up knowing Spider-Man to be. We know for sure he can't have normal friendships, normal relationships. He can't even be a protege for a lot of the different people that he looks up to in whatever the comic book universe, the game universes, or the movies. Because essentially, they usually always turn to shit and they turn out to be some of his biggest villains, like Doctor Octopus or Norman Osborn or something like that. He can't even look up to them for too long because they'll eventually turn evil. So he really just can never get a fair shake. And one of my main things that I enjoyed about this movie so much is that I really felt like, even though this is really different than the Sam Raimi iteration and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man iteration, it, even though it was really really different, it really gave me a real familiar feel. Like just seeing Spider-Man, not only with the organic web shooters, we'll get to that later, but just seeing him just be broke and like not knowing what to do and knowing that he can't have the things that he really wants, because if he has that, then he won't be able to do and fill out his responsibilities as not only a superhero but just as Spider-Man. Like the whole lesson with the great power comes great responsibility. You kind of understand that once you have a lot of responsibility, you're just not going to be able to have a happy-go-lucky life like everybody else can, and that's something that he's always juggling. And I feel like out of all the Tom Holland movies that we've gotten so far, this is the best showcase of that, to be completely honest. Like I really felt for the dude in a lot of scenes. And since we're talking about spoilers, I could just get into everything that happened in this movie. So there is one scene, and I'm gonna jump around because, like I said, this is fresh on my mind. I literally just got home from seeing the movie, so I'm not really gonna go in order from how things happened from the first, second, and third act. I'm just gonna jump around with just things that caught my eye. So there is one scene where we're dealing with. a situation that's going on between the movie's main villain, which is Jean Grey. Spoiler alert. It was Jean Grey the whole fucking time. I was wrong. I know I didn't think so at the beginning when I first saw the trailer. I was like, there's no way that's Jean Grey. And it turned out to actually be her, so I was wrong about that. But there was a situation that was essentially going on with Jean Grey, Mary Jane, and well, Michelle, I should say, and Peter. So essentially, Peter had to just go over and swing to MJ's house and say, "Hey, there's some shit going on. There's some shit going down. I need you to come with me. I need you to trust me." And she's like, "Okay." For me personally, like I saw this in the trailer, I was like, "That's weird. A literal stranger crossed through your window, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'll just go with you." I always thought that was weird, but I knew it had to be something else going on with that, and it turned out that it was. So one of the scenes that was very reminiscent of the Tobey Maguire iteration of Spider-Man, kind of like I was saying, we all know the famous shot where he's hanging upside down in the rain after he's just saved MJ from whatever the fuck those dudes were planning on doing to her in the rain. We never really had a conversation about that too, to be completely honest. Those dudes is definitely gonna do some crazy shit. But he stopped that, and we all know the famous scene where she pulls down the mask halfway, they share a kiss, he swings off. It's a romantic thing. It was something that we talked about for years and years and years. So they did their own rendition of this, but it was a little twist on it. So we all know that MJ does not know who Spider-Man is. She doesn't remember Peter. She doesn't. Everything is just a blur for her. She doesn't really have any knowledge of all the years that they shared and all the different experiences that they shared together. So they have a conversation. MJ essentially says, "Oh, Peter, I think I remember everything now. I need to give you a kiss." Kind of reminiscent to how MJ did in this Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's, I should say. They share a kiss. It seems as though that kiss is like a familiar thing, and she's the MJ, and it was very reminiscent of the Spider-Man that we got way back in the day. But essentially, this is the villain the whole time, which is something I kind of figured. So even though they kind of like, there's been so many different things in this movie that I was like, okay, that was from this Spider-Man, or this is from that, and this is paying homage to this. That was one of the scenes that it definitely seemed like it was a real romantic scene, kind of like what we remember from the Sam Raimi scene. But that's not what it was at all. And I feel like a lot of the things in this movie for sure, like when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this definitely could be this definitely could be that. But then it was like it took a completely different turn. Like I don't know the character's name, but the head of the Department of Damage Control, the DODC, I just keep forgetting the acronym. But the head of that company, I don't even know this guy's name, but he turned out to be another one of the villains, which we all clearly knew. Like you could just tell from the trailers that he was going to be a bad guy. I can see a lot of the things that were not only reminiscent of the early Spider-Man movies, but it was also reminiscent of the X-Men movies because, of course, he's trying to find and catch Jean Grey. So even the whole him shooting with the darts and them doing experiments, and not only that, but there was an actual inhibitor chip that was also reminiscent of the earlier Spider-Man movies. There was an inhibitor chip that was keeping Spider-Man from mutating into Man Spider, which didn't happen. I was wrong about that as well. He didn't turn into Man Spider, but he definitely had something going on that I don't know if they're gonna pick up on that in the upcoming films or not. But he definitely had another side of him that obviously was more Man Spider than Spider Man. But we'll get into that later in the spoiler video as well. But there's a lot of things that were reminiscent in how the DODC kind of handled, I guess, what they want to classify as the mutant problem. That's something we're gonna, I guess, come to see in upcoming films. But just the fact that they were shooting the darts and the inhibitor chip kind of takes away the mutant gene or kind of suppresses it and all that, I thought that was really reminiscent of X-Men: The Last Stand, the third X-Men movie, of course. So, and I thought it was also ironic that out of all people who could come up with some kind of thing that suppresses the mutant gene, it was Peter at the end of the day in this universe. Like I thought that was like crazy, and I know for sure, like I said, I don't know the name of the character, but the dude that was the head of the DODC, I can see for sure with him getting away and him knowing for sure that that inhibitor chip suppresses the mutant gene. That's for sure gonna come up again later, and I just thought that was so fitting that somebody like Peter was the source of that shit. Like that's gonna be something that definitely he's gonna look back on that and regret that as well. That for sure they're gonna take that and kind of find a way to like either get rid of all the mutants or just suppress the gene or use it to their own dastardly deeds or whatever the case is going to be. So I thought that was very fitting, but I thought it was ironic as well. The Hulk scene. Oh my God. The Hulk scene was way better than I even imagined it being. Because I was like, when I saw the Hulk was going to be in here, I was like, please don't let this be, I don't want this to be anywhere near an even fight. I don't want it to look like Spider-Man has a chance. If he gets some blows in here or there, cool, that's fine with me. But I want Hulk to Hulk the fuck out, and that's exactly what he did. At first, I'm not gonna lie. At first, when he walked out and he was Smart Hulk, I was like, oh shit, here we go. They can never give us what we want. Literally, maybe 2 minutes later, if that, he literally turns into Savage Hulk again, and we get Hulk like fucking shit up. And we ain't seen that since the first Avengers film. Not even, I won't even say Age of Ultron as much, but Savage Hulk, we haven't really seen that on the big screen since what, 2012? It's 2026 now, but like that scene, crazy. Like even the Punisher being there, I was like, don't let the Punisher. I don't want the Punisher to get in no good blows, no none of that. We need to see Savage Hulk, and they gave it to us. Like the scene wasn't that long. I say that much. It was maybe 6-7 minutes, maybe, no pun intended, but 6 or 7 minutes, and yeah, the first minute or two was literally Smart Hulk. It wasn't even a Savage Hulk. But once we got that, I was like, okay, yeah, we cooking. And even the way that the fight kind of like cleared out and the Hulk unhulked himself, I guess. I don't know, reverted back to Bruce Banner, we should say. Even the way that happened, like it was like, okay, this is like the perfect Savage Hulk comeback. Like he it wasn't anybody stopping him or reverting him, kind of like how in the Captain America movie, was it Brand New World or Brave New World? That's brand new. All this new shit is throwing me off. But Brave New World, the way he kind of talked him down from the ledge, the Red Hulk, and like it was more so Captain America talking him out of it compared to just him, turning back to Bruce Banner on his own. And you could even see it in his eyes when Spider-Man was like, I'm your friend, Bruce. Remember, I'm Peter. I'm your friend. Like even from the comics, like just knowing that that's really all the Hulk has ever wanted was somebody who actually gave a fuck about him to some degree. And him seeing that, I thought that was a good callback to just some of the stories that we've read growing up as well. So yeah, the Hulk scene was another major, major big thing for me. I loved it. Honestly, to be completely honest, for me, it's probably my top three superheroes. I'm gonna say probably Spider-Man, then Hulk, then Batman. So seeing Spider-Man and the Hulk share a scene the way they did, like it was literally perfect. Like I have no qualms with how everything went down in that scene. So I really love that as well. Another thing that I really, really liked was Sadie Sink's portrayal of Jean Grey. Like I cannot wait to see more of her. It was so much in the movie that I'm like, they're setting it up. They're giving us X-Men. We getting what he want. Like there was so many things in there that I don't know if people really picked up on. That I was like, okay, even the way that she her sister Sarah was used, and they kind of found out everything that they wanted to know as far as how to move around things, especially with Jean Grey, off literally doing crazy shit to her sister, which is Sarah. So her sister was killed, of course. And when we start the film off, Jean Grey is nowhere near as powerful of a mutant as we know she can definitely be, and which is saying a lot because she was definitely pulling some shit off in the first two acts of the movie. That I was like, yeah, I don't know how Spider-Man is really gonna deal with her. But come when the third act rolled around, and once we found out that Sarah was actually murdered, we don't see how, we don't know how, but we just know that she's non-existent. Her lease to life has expired, essentially. We see Jean Grey just go all out, and we really see her. And even still, like it's still just a small sliver of how powerful we know Jean Grey can actually be. But, and I know I sound like a complete nerd talking about this, but that's what the spoiler review is for. We're just gonna talk about everything that was in this movie that I can think of off the top of my head. But anyway, back to it. So seeing Jean Grey just still as powerful as she was in the third act, that still is nowhere near sniffing how powerful she can actually be. We ain't even talking about the Phoenix Force and all that. We'll get to that years down the line. But we got a small taste of how powerful Jean can really be when you piss her the fuck off. And I'm glad we got a taste of that, because it really will make a lot of people who are excited for the X-Men to be shown in the MCU, because we clearly have only gotten them really in Deadpool and Miss Marvel. It's like those are the only things that we really have that have anything to do with mutants or mutant genes or anything like that. So a lot of people, especially like the younger viewers and stuff like that, like this is gonna really be their first iteration of Jean Grey that they're gonna see on the big screen, because a lot of people weren't around for, what was it, 2000 or 2001 when the original X-Men came out. A lot of these kids weren't even born yet, so they didn't get to see Jean fuck shit up in the original X-Men trilogy. So now we get to see a younger Jean played by Sadie Sink, and she did a really good job. Like you felt all the emotions, you understood why she was doing everything that she was doing. And to be completely honest, like once we kind of found out why she was moving the way she was moving. I was like, hey, Pete, get the fuck out of the way. Let her do what she got to do. Like I wanted her to go find the villain and fuck him up to go get her sister back. Because at that point, we didn't know that her sister was actually murdered. So when we found out that she was, her going all out, hey, I was completely there for it. To be completely honest with you, I wasn't mad at it at all. And just to tie it back into, kind of some things that I talked about earlier in the video, just knowing the fact that what the only thing that stopped her was the inhibitor chip that Spider-Man created. Like I just felt like it was so poetic. Like Spider-Man, a lot of times he creates his own problems, whether he likes it or not, and whether he's trying to or not. Whether it's the games or the comics or the movies, like I said, a lot of the problems just really stem from him just like trying to figure things out. And whenever he takes a shortcut, his life always shows and tells him exactly why he shouldn't have did that, and he has to learn a lesson the hard way. And I feel like that's why the Spider-Man character is so relatable because we've all been there before. We've all tried to take the shortcut and then had to find out the hard way that you should have took the long route because the long route is usually always a better route, and that's the one that we always end up on anyway. So a lot of the times that Spider-Man actually gets himself in these issues and you have to find a way to get himself out of it, it's character development. And that's why I think that this movie is one of the better ones, if not the best one that Tom Holland was in. It's really, to me, it's really just No Way Home and this. Like, it's the top two. The other two, they're pretty good, but these two for sure are the top two up there with Spider-Man 2. But there's the Punisher, just seeing John Bernthal as the Punisher again, the relationship that he has with Peter, their callback to their joke of how Peter saved him on Staten Island. I would love to see how that actually went down, to be completely honest, but that ongoing joke was funny. His relationship, John Bernthal, I'm talking about, his relationship even with MJ was pretty good. Like I didn't think that those two would have as much chemistry as they did, but they did. Like, and a lot of just seeing. To me, I feel like I like to see, and I know a lot of people don't like this, but I like to see Spider-Man deal with other heroes, just like he dealt with Doctor Strange in No Way Home, or Iron Man, Tony Stark in the first movie, or just dealing with Bruce Banner now, or dealing with John Bernthal as the Punisher. Like, I like to see how he can kind of see how he could end up if he does things in different ways. Because you can see there's a scene where MJ opens up like a cupboard or like some kind of like, I don't know if it was a kind of like a drug cabinet or something like that. She just opened it up essentially, and you can see all the pictures of Frank Castle's family, who of course are brutally murdered, which set him down the path that he's on, which is very similar to Spider-Man, of course, having his uncle being murdered. It was very, to me, I thought it was poetic, like just seeing that something so similar that can happen to two completely different people can send them on two completely different paths, even though they both experienced the same thing. They both had family members that were murdered, but Spider-Man ended up the way he did, and the Punisher ended up the way he did. And I always like to see Spider-Man deal with characters like that because I feel like, which is a main obvious plot point of this movie, was like you don't have to deal with everything on your own because you don't know what you can learn from somebody else just from having a conversation or just with dealing with somebody. So I feel like that was a major streamline from the beginning of the movie all the way to the end. Like one of the final, I was actually talking to my fiance about this. One of the final lines of dialogue in the movie is, "You don't have to do this alone," which is what Peter told Jean Grey, which of course was kind of similar to what I just said. Just like seeing different things. Of course, her sister Sarah being murdered, and of course, Spider-Man's Uncle Ben being murdered, and also his Aunt May being murdered as well. Now I'm thinking about it. So just that experience that he lived through and dealt with was a direct lesson for Jean Grey, because now she's dealt with it too, so she could see it from another point of view. And that's why I like having Spider-Man in these movies. A lot of other heroes, I know people are saying like, give Spider-Man his own movie, like he's an interesting character enough to be able to do things on his own. You don't need to throw in Captain America, you don't have to throw in Doctor Strange, you don't have to throw in Moon Knight or somebody random. Like, no, he can do it, which I agree. I think Spider-Man is a very interesting character as well, but I just like to see him learn from all these other characters so he can become a better person himself, because he deserves that as well. He shouldn't have to do everything on his own. And there's so many major storylines of Spider-Man throughout the years where he's had to do things on his own, and he always ended up getting some kind of help from somebody in one way, shape, or form. And this movie is no different. But just moving on with a lot of other things that I enjoyed about this movie, I feel like, which I talked about in the non-spoiler review, they knew how to handle Spider-Man in this movie. This is some of the best swinging we've ever seen. And to be completely honest, I've been very vocal about this. I hated the swinging in all of the previous three Spider-Man movies. I hated it. Like, I hated how floaty it was. it seemed like I was watching him in like a video. Like it never seemed like it was realistic. And I know we're talking about somebody swinging from tall skyscrapers, which is not realistic in any way, shape, or form. I understand that. But I also like when a director kind of thinks about how would this look if this was real. And I feel like a lot of the shit that we see in this movie definitely gives that vibe. Like the swinging is there, how he uses webs, how he fights. Like literally everything about Spider-Man in this movie, I feel like was very quintessential Spider-Man. Like this is what we've been asking for over the last three movies, and we're just now getting. So that definitely adds to the Spider-Man feel. Some of the fights that I just kind of like float through. Of course, I already talked about the Hulk fight. That was really good. Him fighting the Scorpion when my fiance keeps saying Spider-Man got the beady eyes when his eyes go all black. Hey, I'm a major Scorpion fan. I know he's like one of the more understated villains from Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery, but I've always wanted to see him on the big screen. We saw him all right, and he Spider-Man put straight boot to ass. Like he gave them thumpers. I wasn't thinking it was gonna go the way that it went. Yeah, we got a glimpse of that from the trailer, like when he kind of grabs his I don't know what it's called, the Scorpion's stinger or whatever it's called, but when he grabbed that shit and kind of whipped him into the cop car, I was like, yeah, Pete not fucking around. He got the beady eyes. It's over. But that fight was over essentially just as fast as it started. But just seeing Scorpion on the big screen finally, when we first got him teased all the way back in Homecoming, and we finally get to see him as a Scorpion, I thought that was really cool, and I thought his suit was really cool too. So that was one fight scene that was really good. When he fights the Hand, when he goes to the DODC's base or whatever to try to go save Jean Grey or stop whatever's happening, that whole fight with the Hand, oh my god, we talking about hands, all right. Like first, I didn't think that the Hand was gonna really put up as much of a fight with Peter as they did, because of course they're Daredevil villains. For all of y'all who may not know, they're like a major conglomerate, and Wolverine has fought them too in the comics as well. But they're more, when you think the Hand, you usually think Daredevil. And to be completely honest, how they was handling Spider-Man, it really gave me way more respect for Daredevil, because he had to fight the same guys, and he's clearly a blind superhero, and he be whooping their ass. So seeing Spider-Man kind of get his ass whooped the way he did, I was like, all right, Daredevil, I see you, because these are dudes you fight on a normal everyday basis, and they giving Spider-Man a run for his money. So I thought that was pretty cool too. Obviously, another fan theory. I didn't think that this was what it was gonna be, but I did think we would get a taste of Daredevil only because the Hand was in there. But a lot of people had essentially put out rumors. Well, not rumors, but they were essentially just saying that they thought that the scene where Spider-Man fights the Hand, it did look like it was in a jail, like kind of like some kind of like detention center, I should say. So we all know that Daredevil is in jail right now. So we thought that, oh yeah, okay, so maybe he breaks out Daredevil. They kind of like team up to fight the Hand or whatever. That didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. It was just a 1-on-12 essentially. Spider-Man against everybody in the Hand. But which is cool. Like I wasn't mad that Daredevil wasn't in this one. We literally got him in the last movie. You can't just keep calling on him every single movie. So that was cool. I didn't mind that at all. But that fight scene, you didn't need Daredevil in it, because that fight scene was amazing. Like that was really good. Another thing that I really liked about this movie, I know I'm gonna sound crazy. I know I'm in a minority on this, but I've always been more of a fan of the organic web shooters. Yeah, I know. I'm way more of a fan of the organic web shooters than I am of the mechanical web shooters. I get it. That's what Spider-Man was literally created off of. That's a major thing for him. But I just always thought that if I'm bitten by a spider and get spider powers, I feel like it makes way more sense for me to be able to make my own organic webbing. I'm literally mutated, half man, half spider. I feel like it just makes more sense for him to have organic fucking webbing. But I'm gonna get into that a little bit later too. But I just want to gush about, no pun intended. I just want to gush about how cool I actually think that was. And even there's like a very quick shot of Spider-Man kind of like touching his wrist, and you can see the I forget what they're called for spiders, but the literal organ that creates the webs in a spider, you can kind of see like poking through his wrist. And I don't know if y'all know or not, but some of the concept art for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, it was literally like the exact same concept art all the way from the early 2000s and even the late 90s, when they were trying to think about how they would make this work or how it would look for Tobey. There's a very famous picture of them just showing his wrist, and it was like literally like one for one a remake of that concept art. So I thought that was really cool for anybody with a keen eye who could pick up on that as well. That was really cool to me. And Now let's get into why he even has the fucking organic webbing in the first place. So for all y'all that don't know, Spider-Man, and well, I guess I kind of tie this into two things. So the end credit scene, of course, a lot of people were confused about it. The end credit scene, of course, shows the spider tracker or the Spidey tracker or whatever it's called, and it essentially shows him showing up on a little blip. Once again, no pun intended, but it's like a little blip of Spider-Man saying, "Oh, he's been located," or whatever the case may be, and then it slowly drifts off, slowly drifts off deep into outer space. So I know a lot of y'all were confused about this because Doomsday is coming up, but Doomsday is kind of still set on Earth. Once, you know what? Damn, I don't know if I can go into that. That's a spoiler for Doomsday now I'm thinking about it. Okay, I'll just put it like this. There's something called Battle World that Spider-Man will end up on. I'll just leave it at that. There's a different planet that Spider-Man will end up on. It's called Battle World, and I'm pretty sure I don't know for a fact, but I'm just gonna go off my nerddom and what I know about comics and reading Secret Wars and all that shit. I'm pretty sure I'm like 1,000% sure that's exactly what that means. And on Battle World, he finally gets the symbiote costume. Like he runs into the symbiote. At least back in the 1984 run of the Secret Wars storyline, he gets the symbiote on Battleworld, and the only reason that he even has organic webbing in this movie is because it just wouldn't make sense for him to just somehow get organic web shooters when he gets the symbiote suit on Battleworld. So that's literally all it is. It's not some big. I know they kind of made it make sense as far as he's maturing and this, that, and the third. They literally only did that because it just wouldn't make sense from a storyline standpoint for him to just use mechanical web shooters and then now he gets a suit and he just has organic web shooters. It just wouldn't make sense. So that's essentially why they did it. I hate to pull the rug out from under y'all. It wasn't really a big thing. They just made it like a story thing. There's literally no other reason why they did that. If they weren't doing Secret Wars and Doomsday and all that other shit, he would still have mechanical web shooters. I'm just going to be 100% with y'all. But I'm cool with that, to be completely honest. I have no problem with that at all. I think it's cool. Like I said, I've always been more of a fan of the organic web shooters over the mechanical ones because I just feel like it makes more sense. But I do understand, like, from the stakes standpoint, we've all seen, and well, I can't say we all seen, but if you're a comic lover like I am, there's a lot of very major points in stories where villains get a hold of them web shooters and they take them away from him, and now he has to like figure out shit on the fly, which they also did in this movie as well. And he had to figure some shit out. He had to make it work. But that's just another reason why. And I know I'm just rambling about this, but this is just another reason why I love Spider-Man because like I love characters where like unlike the Incredible Hulk, he can't just be strong and just strength his way out of the situation. He has to kind of think on the fly. Like something he went into it thinking it was this, and it turned out to be this. He has to figure out shit quick. And I feel like that's so reminiscent of like just how we all live our lives. You could just go out your door one day and get into a bad car crash. Now you got to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? I got to figure this out. Cause that's what real life is. And I feel like Spider-Man, just as a character and just from all his storylines, what makes him such a great superhero is he has to figure things out on the fly, just like we do. And we root for him because we've been there before. And sometimes he figures it out, sometimes he doesn't. And that's life. That's kind of like what we have to deal with as well. And I feel like this movie from start to finish was a lot of that. I'm trying to think of what else could I actually talk about that I really enjoyed about this movie. I do like how visceral this movie was, for sure. I feel like we haven't really gotten that since the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. There's a couple of scenes in the Tom Holland trilogy as well where like the fights were a little graphic. I won't go as far as to say because I saw some people saying online that like, parents, you should probably go see this movie before taking your kids because it may be too much for them. I don't agree. I didn't really see anything in this movie other than Spider-Man getting shot at the end. Which I feel like even the way that they tackled that was it wasn't graphic at all. You didn't even see it. You just knew it happened essentially. But yeah, I didn't really see anything in here that you should shield your kids' eyes when you go see this. But I did like just how these fights, you felt every punch, like for sure. Like when they were fighting, and even with the sound design, like I feel like the way that they did it, they made it clear like this is a real fight, and this fight has stakes. If Spider-Man is not on his P's and Q's, somebody can get harmed here, like for sure. With the Hulk fight, like I was wondering how the fuck Spider-Man was eating some of them punches from the Hulk the way he did, because though like the Hulk was not playing when he actually turned into Savage Hulk. Like a lot of the fights are very visceral, and I felt like it was very similar to how Toby used to get his ass whooped. Like remember how the Green Goblin when he finally had their real one-on-one at the end of the movie in the first Spider-Man movie, like that was a very violent, visceral fight. And I feel like a lot of these in this movie were along the lines of that as well. That's why you felt the stakes way more in this than you have in the last couple of films. And I feel like they kind of started that in No Way Home. But I feel like if you got the director from Shang-Chi, of course the choreography is gonna be on point. And I didn't even get a chance to talk about it in any of the podcast episodes I've done so far. But a random fact about this movie: Jackie Chan was actually a consultant for a lot of the hand-to-hand combat and action scenes in this movie. So that's probably why they look the way that they look. He was actually on set helping them with some of the choreography for this movie as well, which is a weird fact, but he was. You can look that up and see the pictures on the internet. But yeah, the fights were visceral, just how I really enjoyed from the Tobey trilogy. We didn't really get as much romance as I would say, which is like one of my major, like what I love the most about the Sam Raimi movies. And I don't want to just keep harping on those, but there was so much in this movie that it was clearly paying homage to those earlier movies. That's why I'm talking about them here. But a lot of the romance in the first Spider-Man trilogy was exactly why I liked those movies so much, because it was like at one point it was a romantic comedy, and another one it was an action movie, and another one's a superhero movie. Like I felt like they found a way to really make a good mixture on the Sam Raimi trilogy of all those different aspects. In this, we didn't really get that as much, but I felt like it made sense because obviously MJ doesn't fucking remember Peter Parker, so it wouldn't really make sense for him to be on a romance type of thing. Kind of like in the scene I told you guys about earlier, where MJ and Spider-Man actually kiss for the first time in this movie, but it's not a real kiss because she's actually being controlled by Jean Grey. She's not even in control of her own body. So obviously we didn't really get a lot of the romance, but there are definitely small aspects there, here or there. Kind of like the scene where Spider-Man, Ned, and MJ are all just chilling, and I guess in their apartment, they're all just chilling, and MJ kind of draws the picture of Peter unmasked. Like she didn't even draw it with the mask on because he has his mask on. She drew it unmasked. You could see like their relationship was slowly starting to grow. But this is kind of going into the third act, so we didn't really get a lot of the romance that we, of course, got in the original Spider-Man trilogy and in Andrew Garfield's was it duology? I think that's how you pronounce it. But we didn't really get that here, which is fine. Like it made sense from a story standpoint. So I'm sure once the movie's gone, we'll get a little bit more of that as well. But I like I said, I really enjoyed this movie. Like this is definitely up there with the Spider-Man movies. I don't know for sure how I rank it yet. Like I said, I got to sit with this more. I'm actually seeing it for a second time next Saturday. So hopefully by that time, seeing it again, hopefully I want to see it in Dolby Cinema as well. So I might end up seeing this one 3 times. But I'm pretty sure while I see this, after I see this a couple of times, I'll pretty much know where I rank it. But this is definitely up there with some of the better Spider-Man movies for sure. And this is just off one viewing. Like I can definitely say it's up there. But there's so much more to talk about. I might even make a second spoiler episode, I should say. I don't know for sure once I get my thoughts in order a little more. But there's so much to love about this movie. I know once you guys see it, well, I can't say once you guys see it because you wouldn't be watching this if you didn't see it already. But I'm pretty sure you guys agree with a lot of this. And if you don't, I mean, I would love to have a conversation with you guys down in the comments. We can have a discussion. And like I said, if you guys want me to do another spoiler video about this, I definitely can, and I will be happy to do that. So if that's something you guys want, go down in the comments and put your thoughts down there. But that's enough of me rambling. If you guys, like I said, if you want me to do a part 2, just go down in the comments, let me know. But until the next time, appreciate you guys per usual. Peace.